It's a dreary day in southern Appalachia. I was really hoping for the snow that everyone else got, but no snow here. It was too warm, and then the moisture just never really made it to us. Maybe it kind of looked like it was. I had several people tell me over the radar, but I guess it never fell completely, never made it all the way to ground, because we had like a mist, but really no rain. And then it's too warm for snow. It's like in the 40s. So anyway, disappointed about that, but maybe next time I'll get some of the snow. Today I'm just doing some things in the kitchen. I'm thinking about something good for supper for me and Katie and Matt. And it is supposed to turn cold, just like all that cold weather that's a lot of you have been telling me you've been experiencing. That's coming our way, so this whole week's supposed to be cold. I'll share the recipe, super simple, for a ham steak, and it's one that's in mine and Jim's cookbook, so I'll tell you a little bit about that once I get ready to make it. I was thinking about that, and then I started thinking about what we could have to go with it, of course, and I was thinking of something, something good, a dessert. And I've been needing to put up some of my pumpkins, and I've been really anxious to try this is the first time we actually grew these, were successful growing them, Long Island cheese, I think is the name of it, Long Island cheese. Anyway, you can tell it's kind of a squatty pumpkin, and I've been told that they're just really fantastic. So I thought, well, I want to cut one of those up, and I could cook it, maybe fry up some with some onions or something like that. But then I've got some sweet potatoes I need to use. I found 2 of those white sweet potatoes I forgot I had in my little potato pantry. So I think I'm going to do those. But I am going to go ahead and cut up the pumpkin. I'm going to bake it, get the flesh out. I'm going to make a pumpkin roll. That'll be something special for us. And the rest of it I'll just put in the freezer. Another thing that I was thinking about was green beans. Of course, I went downstairs and got some off our pantry shelf. And when I did, I found... I forgot all about that I made just a few jars of supposed to be canned coleslaw. Now, when I was making it last summer, that was the recipe, and I'll leave it in the link below. I've never made it or tried it before. Of course, when I was making it, it was very similar to like a pickle because it used vinegar and stuff. So I brought it up. I think I'm going to open it right now in a minute, and we're going to taste it. Maybe I can even convince Matt to come take a taste of it and see what he thinks. I only did 4 jars of it because I didn't know if we would like it or not. And then after I got the green beans out, I started thinking, what would really go good with ham is something like, I was thinking soup beans. And then I was reminded, started thinking about what else I forgot from last summer of these beans. These are I'll have to put it on the screen because I've already forgotten the lady's name. Debbie shared them with me, but the Bradley. I'm beginning to remember it, but I'll put it on there. Anyway, that she shared with us and that Matt and I grew. Debbie shared them with us, but that's who they come from. And they have that little mark on them. I don't know, hopefully you can see that. And Matt and I called them the paint bean because they just immediately reminded us of a paint horse. Anyway, so I remembered I had those. That's all we harvested, other than the ones I kept for seed, of course. So then I thought, well, I could cook these. I don't know, it's tempting to cook these. Katie probably wouldn't like these as good as she would the green beans. I could do both though. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that. But first I'm going to cut my pumpkin and get it in the oven and get it baking so that I can make that wonderful pumpkin roll. And then we'll open this jar and see what it tastes like. I only grew about, 3 or 4 of these, maybe just about 3, I guess. And this one, they've all been just sitting around the edges of my kitchen, but this one's it's not soft, but it's kind of starting to look funny, so I know it's another reason I decided I would do that. It smells good. I can already smell that wonderful pumpkin. Missed my mark, of course, where I was kind of aiming for. There it goes. Smells so good and so wonderful that we grew this last summer, and it's just been sitting here all this time. It's wonderful. I've probably told you before, but I'll tell you this funny story again. I need to get me a bowl to put my scraps in. When one time it was like, it was before me and Matt grew pumpkins, but it was in the fall of the year, and I'd got a pumpkin from somewhere, probably for the girls to have, and I never let them cut the pumpkin. We just had it, like, for thinking about those holidays and those autumn, Halloween, and thinking about Thanksgiving. I didn't let them actually make a jack-o'-lantern out of it because I wanted to cook with it, you know. Anyway, somehow that year time had just got away from me, and it was probably, you know, probably something like this, probably even this time of the year, and I never did do anything with it. It was a great old big pumpkin. It was still just sitting in my kitchen, and Pap had come up here one morning, was sitting in there drinking coffee with Matt, and I said, Daddy, I've still got that pumpkin in there. Do you think it'd still be okay if I put it up? And he's like, oh, what? You've had a pumpkin since Halloween? And I said, well, yeah, I've had it, but do you think it'd still be okay to put it up? And he said, well, Tipper, is it not molded where you cut it? He thought we had cut it open. It had just been laying there. I was like, no, I've never cut it. It's just still a big pumpkin. He's like, oh, it'll be fine. Go ahead. You know, go ahead. It'll be fine. Anyway, funny story. He thought I meant that I had actually cut it and left it sitting there all that time. This one is a little, not too bad, but it is a little soft, so it's a good thing I decided to do this. Now, my first thought of looking at it, now I know it probably tastes great, but it's because it is kind of thin. There's not much meat. There's not much meat. Let me get me something to scrape out the inside seeds with. There's just not very much meat on the inside. It'll probably be enough for I only need 2/3 of a cup for my pumpkin roll, but I need, you know, you want to grow stuff that really lets you put up a lot, so I don't know. But then again, this is a small one. Maybe that's the difference. You'll have to tell me if you grow them. Probably my favorite pumpkin to grow is the Chambers Creek, and people ask me where they can get that seed. I really don't know. Dawn Cassida shared it with me years ago, and I grow it every year, and so I keep the seeds, but it's very, very similar to the Cherokee, I think it's like Cherokee tan pumpkin, so if you look for that one, I think it may even be the same thing, since it, you know, it's in the same general area there. But this one's really stringy too. I may have to go and looking around, search for another one to cut up. Since I'm going to be doing this, I might as well. Okay, very, very stringy. I wonder if I should try to cut these smaller and then get a paring knife and try to cut some of that off, or if I should just let it, of course it's all edible, let it just cook. I am going to see if I can find another pumpkin though. Okay, I found one of my Chambers Creek pumpkins. We'll see. That one, by the time I got all the stringy stuff out, there wasn't much left of it, but I do have it in the oven, so we'll get what we can out of it. Gotta get me another. I'm making a lot of noise. Another pan. Let's see. You can scrape this inside with a knife or with a spoon. I have this ice cream scoop that has little serrated places. I've had it probably since me and Matt was first married. It's real sturdy. I'm sure it was just cheap, but it works good for things like this, so that's what I always grab. So, yeah, these are not near as stringy as the one I just did. This is better. And you can see, of course, because it's a bigger pumpkin, there's more flesh there. I've always wanted to dry pumpkin. I tried it, not this year, last year I guess, but all my pieces just molded. I don't know, it was just too humid or I had them in the wrong place. I had them inside. Maybe I should try to put them outside. I've read a lot of accounts where people that dried pumpkins, they put them near their wood stove. Of course, that was in the days when you had to have, you know, your cook stove. You had to cook on it in the summer too, any time of the year. I guess I could do that now, but I mean, we don't run the heater run the stove in the summer, but since it's winter. And if they're dried like that, of course, that's just another way to preserve them. In the old days when they had to have all that, for me, I was just doing it more or less to see if I could do it. You can throw dried pieces. I've dried them in the dehydrator before and just throw those dried pieces in a soup or a stew. And, you know, then that reconstitutes while the stew or the soup's cooking. But in the old days when they had to preserve things every way they could think of to make it through the winter, that was more, I think, when pumpkin was dried a lot. I still would like to try to dry it, but when I did, I was a total fail the one time I tried it. They just molded pretty quickly. Okay, got this one cut up. I'm going to put it in the oven with the other one. It'll take them, I've got the oven on about 400. It'll take 45 minutes, maybe an hour for this larger one. I'll just keep an eye on them. And then once they're done, they're just real soft, then I can let them cool and the skin just basically peels away, or you can just scrape the insides, whichever way you want to do it. And then I'll be ready to put them in the freezer, and of course save some out though for, I see what I need to trim. Save some out for to make us a pumpkin roll. I'll do that. But once I get those in the oven and I straighten up in here, I'll go see if I can find Matt and see if he'll taste the canned slaw with me. I think he's outside somewhere doing something. It's where he spends a lot of his time, outside. Well, I went and found him. Let's see what we think. This is the canned coleslaw, but it's really more like pickles. Get down in there and get you some of the juice on it too. Smells good.
Yeah, it does. That'll do. Those are real good.
It's really good, but I mean, it's really good. It tastes very similar to a bread and butter pickle. Good.
Golly, yes, dude.
More crunchy than a bread and butter pickle because of the cabbage is still real crunchy. But it's good. That's a good way if you've got extra cabbage and you don't want to make, use it all for kraut. That's good, isn't it?
I wish we had a pot of beans.
Yeah, well,
just eat that.
Speaking of, so I was going to make, for supper, I was going to make the green beans, and then when I remembered, I forgot all about making this till I got the green beans and I seen it. So then that made me remember these beans. So then I was tempted to.
What is it?
This is I almost thought of it, Sally Bradley, I think, maybe. I'll put it on there. The ones from Debbie that we grew, we called paint.
No.
And we've not tasted them. This is one of the ones we've not tasted.
Cook them up.
So, I was thinking about it. I could do them in the Instapot. I could put them on the stove, I guess, if I got time. What time is it? Almost dinner time. Or we could just do green beans. Or I could do one of each, because Katie'd rather have green beans probably. But that would go really good with it, wouldn't it? It'd be sweet potatoes, cornbread.
Gosh, yeah, it'd be good.
Be a feast. Okay.
Do that.
All right. Took a little break from the kitchen, ate some dinner with Katie and Matt, come back and got my pumpkin put up. It would finish baking in the oven. So I've got my bags here ready to go into the freezer. This time I froze them all in the increments that I would need to make pumpkin bread. So maybe one day I'll share that recipe. Now I'm going to whip up the pumpkin roll that I was going to make for me and Katie and Matt. I have a video about that, so I will link to it. It's really easy though. It's a really one of those recipes that are really easy to make, but kind of a fancier presentation, I think. In fact, I should have put my eggs in first, but I already did. I wasn't paying attention, but that's how easy it is that you just mix it all together, really. So I'm going to continue with what I was doing there. Normally I would put the eggs in first, but oh well, it'll still be fine. So I'm just mixing all my dry ingredients. And I saved out some pumpkin from our fresh pumpkin that we put up today to put in. So I'll add that. I wonder if I should, it's got quite a bit of liquid. I might pour part of the liquid out. And then I'll put my eggs. Go ahead and mix them up just so it'll be easier to mix everything together. Just takes about 15 minutes for the pumpkin roll to bake. And then I will get it out and roll it up, put it in the refrigerator, and let it stay for about 30 minutes or an hour or something like that, just till it kind of gets chilled. And then I'll be ready to get it back out and unroll it and put the filling in it, put it back in, let it chill again, and then it'll be ready. Now, I've got my pan back here. I just lined it with parchment paper and make things easy on myself. I'll pour the batter out. I've already got my oven heated up, so that's good. I've got some green beans going. I did make 1 jar of green beans so Katie can enjoy them, and Matt is like me. Once we started thinking about those wonderful beans, we're going to do them just in the Instapot since there's hardly any of them, and that'll be enough for me and him to enjoy with our ham steak. I'll make some cornbread, bake those sweet potatoes, and that's going to be really, really good. Get this baked. About got supper ready. Now I'm ready to make my ham steak that I was going to make. I've got my cornbread in the oven. I've baked my sweet potatoes. I put them in a little bit too early, but they're done, so they're still on top of the stove. They'll stay warm. I did my beans in those wonderful beans me and Matt want to try in the Instapot. I let them go. I pressured them for 30 minutes and then got some out and tasted them. They still weren't done. They tasted really good, but they wasn't done, so I put them back in for 30 minutes. So those are going. And then I did do the 1 quart of green beans, so those are done. Now I need to do the main star, I guess you would say. Oh, and I also got my pumpkin roll back out, put the wonderful cream cheese on the inside, rolled it back up, and it's back in the refrigerator chilling, so that'll be great. So when it comes to ham, my favorite ham is like the ones that Miss Cindy always bought and made for all of our thinking of Christmas and Thanksgiving and things like that. But even before that, when she still lived in Black Mountain, often in the summer especially, me and Corey and Katie would go. Matt would go if he could, but usually he was working. This was when I worked at the college and I had more time off. And we would go stay, several days with her, and we would school shop for school. We'd hit all the thrift shops and just enjoy ourselves looking at things. We might take the girls somewhere fun, something like that. But usually what Miss Cindy would do before we got there is she would bake a ham, she would make potato salad, she would make some homemade bread, And that was kind of she had that ready and we ate it every day. We said we'd shop till we dropped, and then we'd go home and already have supper ready for us. So lots of fun memories. And this recipe, I'm not sure where I learned it, but it also has ties to Miss Cindy. So of course, like I said, at Christmas and Thanksgiving, after she moved out here, she would always, that's what she would bring to our get-togethers for our family dinners. And she was so great in so many ways, but especially for me, she understood what it was like to work a full-time job and then have to take care of your family. And of course, I did the blind pig and the acorn in those days. We grew a garden, I was really busy. So she would do anything she could to help me, any kind of errands or things, which was wonderful. But she would also just keep an eye out. Maybe she'd go around town looking, she had time, so she might go to Save-A-Lot, maybe she'd go to Ingle, she'd go to different places, and if she'd seen something on sale that she thought was a really great deal, she'd get it for us. Well, this time of the year, a lot of times you'll find, because it is after the holidays are over, and they've got to do something with those big hams. If they didn't sell, you'll find ham steaks. It's just where they've cut a big slice out of it. And a lot of times you can find them fairly, especially, a few years ago, fairly cheaply. Everything's went up today. Anyway, Miss Cindy would often bring one of those home for us. And that was when I first started making these. Now, it is really simple. And technically, this ham it's cooked. I mean, you just need to warm it up is all you're doing. But I make this wonderful glaze that goes on it. And this recipe, both recipes, Miss Cindy's and the one I'm going to show you today, is in mine and Jim's book, Celebrating Southern Appalachian Food. And someone asked me in the last day or two, and I hadn't even thought about it, said, well, I have the cookbook, so when you share a recipe, would you tell me what page it's on? So this one is page 52. And I do put all the recipes that I share from the cookbook. I have a playlist that's the name of the cookbook. So all the recipes so far that I've shared, either even before the cookbook was published or afterwards, I've got in that playlist. So now, glazed ham steak. You need a 1-inch thick ham steak. I've got that. 1/2 cup sorghum syrup. So I have that. I keep sorghum syrup because I really love it. I love the flavor. Now, if you don't have that, you could use molasses, and you could even use honey. Would be just fine. And I say molasses, so it gets confusing. What is really sorghum syrup and what is molasses? Because a lot of people call it the same thing. So that's a whole rabbit trail that we won't go down. But sorghum syrup is made from sorghum cane. And that's really popular in my area of Appalachia, but it is often called molasses by some people. So 3 tablespoons of water, 1/4 cup orange juice, 1 tablespoon brown sugar, 1/2 teaspoon mustard powder, and 1/8 teaspoon of ground cloves. So place ham in a shallow baking pan, combine all the other ingredients and mix well, pour over ham steak and bake at 375 degrees for 30 minutes. Basting occasionally with the liquid in the pan. And this goes, I've even put it as my little tip in the cookbook, but goes very well with biscuits and sweet potatoes. Now, I was going to make biscuits until we decided to do the beans, so I'm actually going to do cornbread tonight, but I do have the sweet potatoes. So now, all we got to do is just mix all this up together. Whoops. Get my sorghum in there first. I know my cornbread's about done, so I've got my timer going, or I'll forget while I'm talking, so if it beeps at me, I'll have to go get it out. And if you've never tasted sorghum syrup, it's sweet like honey, but it has a much stronger taste, an earthy taste. I've heard some people say they think it tastes slightly metallic, but most of the time you hear people say earthy. For me, it just tastes like home. So there goes my water. Got my orange juice. A little piece of orange that come out with it, but that'll be okay. My spices. And the sugar. I'm leaving some of the sugar behind. And I'm just going to stir that up together. And usually, the recipe says to baste it, and you can sure do that if you have one of those basters. I don't have one. I've just never used. Seems like I did have one and I never used it, so I got rid of it. Because you could just use a spoon. But usually what I do is just pick the ham up and turn it over. Just turn it over, and you just do that maybe once or twice, just to make sure that all the sides get coated with this wonderful sweet glaze. I think we about got it stirred up. It's really just the sorghum trying to get it stirred up with everything else. Okay, so I'm just going to pour it over the steak. Leave my little piece of orange. Corey got me this mixing bowl for Christmas. I really like it. I had an 8-cup. Miss Cindy got it for me years ago. It's like one of my favorite things in the kitchen. I had a 2-cup, and now I've got a 4-cup. Sometimes the 8-cup is too big and the 2-cup is too small, so now I've got one in between. Sounds like Goldilocks, doesn't it? Okay, now I'm going to get my cornbread out, and then I'm going to put this in the oven, and once it comes out, I'll show you how it turns out. Don't you know, while I was going to get my plate I use for my cornbread, look what I found. I always leave something from Christmas. One day, I guess it was about 2 days ago, I found a little nativity in mine and Matt's room that was on the dresser that was behind something, and now I found one of my Christmas bowls, which kind of seems appropriate since I've been talking about Miss Cindy, because she did buy these for me. So I'll have to drag out my box and put this in it. Have to cut me a little piece and enjoy it with some butter. I always have to do that. I wish you could smell the ham. It smells so good. I wish you could be here to smell it. Can you smell it, Katie? Katie just come up from working.
So that's ham?
That's ham. Don't it smell so good? So of course I'm going to have to break up my cornbread for my beans. And me and Matt both already tasted them. They are so good. So good. They have really, really great flavor. And they cooked up wonderful. So I did do them, I guess, total an hour in the Instapot. Probably could have, I don't know, they're really soft, so they're kind of falling apart. It just all depends on how you like them, for sure. And Katie, let me tell you about that. That's canned coleslaw. It don't really taste like slaw though, but it tastes really good. I said it tasted kind of like bread and butter pickles, but after I ate some for my dinner with some hummus on a pita bread, I started thinking maybe it was the hummus, the addition of that, or just all those flavors together started reminding me of an egg roll. I don't know why, but it was really good. Anyway.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's good. So you can have a sweet potato. I made Katie's orange and then these white ones.
Oh, Katie likes the white ones.
Yeah, well there's two, so you can have one, I can have one. They're kind of little, but they'll still be good.
Big old slice of ham, have mercy.
So yeah, if you want, here's your butter if you would like it, Katie.
Okay, thank you.
Give you that, and I'll get a piece of ham.
guess I better, before I actually touch anything, I'll wash my
Oh
hands.
yeah, you know ought to
I
wash
hadn't really
your
touched
hands.
no food yet. I was like, I better just, they didn't really look dirty, but I was like, better just wash them.
Well,
Touching that
just
middle.
lost the fork in the hot glaze there. Now, let me get some of this. Wonderful. So this was, me and Matt both agreed, I definitely need to make more of this next year. I said we need to plant more cabbage for Crowd and for this. Can't believe I forgot about it till seeing it on the shelf down there.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm gonna try a little piece of ham. I need a knife though, I guess. Here's this one right here. Cut me off a little piece.
Oh, I love ham. Cooked ham is good.
Try a little bit. Of course, you could put dip it in the glaze there. You could serve some of that with it.
This looks really good. It may be Heartburn City.
It might be, but it's good.
They can impress set me on fire. But it smells really good.
Ham is really, really good.
Well, that ham smells good too.
And these beans, they have a really great flavor. Not really like a pinto, different than them. But sort of the same kind of, I guess, same kind of flavor. Really great. And really, I love that we grew them and that Debbie shared the seed with us, that someone had shared them with Debbie. Debbie's trying to keep them alive, and here they are, and we're going to plant more of them this year for sure. And it's such a beautiful bean too. I guess they say that you eat with your eyes too. Have you heard people say that? I don't necessarily always think about that because I'm all about the taste. I don't care about as much about how it looks as far as being the presentation. But well, there you go. But these are so pretty. Now, you know, not when they're cooked, but when they're dried in my hand, they just remind me so much of a paint horse. They're so pretty.
Those are the ones that's all splotchy
And these are the ones that just have the, they were white or like a cream color with just one little place on them. Reminded me of a paint horse. Yeah.
Those are pretty.
Really pretty.
Thank you, Mom. You're the expert.
Yeah,
Good.
you're welcome.
How blessed I am. Thank you.
I have a surprise for you and your daddy, but I'll tell you in just a little bit.
Well, thank you. I can't wait to go get this ate. That looks so good. Thank you, Mama.
Supper was so good. Now I'm going to surprise. They can probably hear me. Matt and Katie with the dessert. Neither one of them knew that I made it, so they will be very excited. See if I can turn it over some. Okay. Cut them a piece. Some very big piece. I'll take that one. You can see it makes such a pretty dessert. I'll link to that video. It's really easy to make. Okay, Katie and Matt, I've got a surprise for you. If you could come in here.
I'm coming.
Good supper?
I declare.
Yeah. Surprise, pumpkin roll.
Pumpkin roll is my favorite.
Yeah, there you go. Sweets for my sweets.
Oh, thanks. Pumpkin roll literally is my favorite dessert.
There you go. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna do that too. It's literally my
Get
favorite.
some more of that.
Well, you can come back and get more. Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Got me a little piece too.
Take it with me and eat it.
Okay.
I've already been into the piece.
You can come back for more. I hope you enjoyed spending the day with me in the kitchen. If you try this ham steak, it's so good. So easy, but so good. So very good. I hope you'll enjoy it. I'll leave the link to the pumpkin roll, as I said, in the description. I've got a video for cornbread too, and the cornbread is in the cookbook of mine and Jim's. I'll leave that link in the description below. The pumpkin roll is not. And I'm really pleased that I'm so excited about the beans, but I'm really pleased that I that we all like this. Katie tasted it too. So I'll be sure to put that link in the description below too, where I found the recipe last summer. I'm always glad when you stop by to help me celebrate Appalachia.